Meet my buddy Dixie. If you like traveling with your dog as much as I like traveling with her, then this next story's for you. We're going to learn all about keeping our four-legged friends safe when we're out in the field.
She just likes to explore. Huh, Holly?
I think one of the most enjoyable components of either waterfowl hunting or bird hunting is having that companion with you, having a dog with you.
With me is Gunner. He's a German short-haired pointer.
This is Muggsy, and he is a registered Australian Shepherd.
This is Heidi. We now affectionately call her the Queen Mum, and she pretty much rules the household.
When I hike with them, I always bring their collars that have their rabies tag on it and a tag that has his name and my phone numbers on it.
I've actually left my dog in the field because I couldn't find him. It's always good to have a collar just in case another hunter does pick them up.
I go the extra step and have my dogs microchipped.
Probably the most important thing is actually gearing up before you go out in the field. He's got a really good nose. Quail season in Arizona opens in early October. It's really hot still at that time of year. So we start conditioning our dogs, or try to condition our dogs starting in the summer.
Just get them out and throw some sticks or dummies. They have all kinds of them for dogs, but keep them in shape. This way Jake's ready for the season when it starts. You can't just take him out of a kennel and expect him to run out and perform without having any exercise and things like that. Good boy, here.
It's a lot like with people. Start off slow, get them used to the trails, and don't overexert the animal or yourself.
Just to build up their tolerance, not only their physical tolerance, but again also the toughness of their pads, so that they're used to this kind of hike. Come on.
Start running them a little bit on concrete surfaces, or we have granite out here. Let them run on the granite. It helps callus the bottom of their feet, and they don't get as many foot pad injuries.
I always carry boots, dog boots. I like the rubber dog boots best. They seem to hold on better and provide better protection.
One of the major things that we take, especially for people too, is water. And some people actually, they make now collapsible water bowls that you can take with you.
Try to, stop maybe about every half an hour, 20 minutes, something like that, just to check and see, and they'll let you know if they're thirsty. And then I, put some water in the bowl and put it down for them and let them drink.
Good boy. A dog like this, certainly with a black coat, can get heated up pretty fast. And so you got to make sure that you provide them plenty of water.
These new backpack hydration systems tend to be very good. You can carry a good amount of water.
The main way that a dog cools itself is with its panting. So if you see your dog really starting to get lethargic, panting, color draining from the lips or tongue, you're starting to get into problems with the heat and your dog becoming dehydrated. What you want to do in that case, and Heidi's just going to love this, is start cooling them down. Their ears are a good place. Get their ears good and wet. You're such a good girl.
Get them hydrated and just let them sit for a while. And they should come out of it.
It's possible that your dog could lose consciousness and stuff if it really starts advancing to heat stroke. And in that case, you really need to get them to a veterinary hospital as quickly as possible.
Down there is dry. It's just as dry as can be. And the same kind of things apply in terms of making sure your dog is in good condition, has a good healthy coat on them, because our temperatures in the high country of Arizona can drop down into the low digit numbers and sometimes below freezing. If you're in the water, it doesn't hurt to have kind of a dry camo blanket in the blind that you can at least drape around him and let him try to regain some of that insulation in the coat, because these guys will start shaking quite vigorously if they do get cold.
Holly.
Another thing to consider when you're out here hunting in Arizona, especially in the desert regions, is there's a lot of thorns and spines and things that can get into a dog. If you see him limping, don't be bashful in reaching down and grabbing his foot pad and looking to see if there's a spine or some kind of cactus thorn in it, and maybe have a little pair of tweezers or some pliers or something to assist you in the field to pull some of those things out. Is it out of there? Okay.
With the elements, I always take a little first aid kit with me, mainly for cactus.
With cactuses, they will self-train. They'll learn to recognize different cactuses and will avoid those areas. Where you really get into trouble is a lot of times the cholla pads fall off nowhere near where a cholla is. They'll get on some other animal and be dropped partway around.
Okay.
If you're not careful, they'll have cactus on their nose and on their paws and wherever it started at, and so then you've got the enjoyment of trying to pull that all out without then getting it on yourself. And that's what the comb, that's what's great about a comb.
It's the best cactus getting rid of device. The dog gets in the cactus, you simply can put the comb between the dog and the cacti and flip it out.
Stay. In many cases, in terms of animal safety and pet safety, it's you being able to control that dog that'll keep him out of bad situations.
Obedience training will save more dogs' lives than any type of first aid after the fact.
That a boy, that a boy.
If you hear a snake buzzing in the grass and you tell him to leave it and come, there's a good chance, obviously if he does, he's going to avoid an encounter with that snake. But a dog that doesn't obey you, you might be looking at some pretty expensive vet bills or even possibly something worse.
If your dog gets bit by a snake, the first thing you need to do, one, is try and identify what type of snake it is. And if it is indeed a rattlesnake, don't do any of the old style remedies where they used to slice into muscle and bone and stuff and try to get the venom out. Your best bet is to try to keep your dog calm, try to isolate the area, and transport your dog in to either your vet or an emergency animal hospital.
My bigger concern is jackrabbits, because these dogs, if they see a jackrabbit, they'll want to take off after them. And if they are loose, my biggest fear is them running through the desert and either hurting themselves because they're just focused on chasing the little rabbit, or getting lost.
The other big thing with bird dogs and being in the field are porcupines. Most dogs will bite a porcupine and bite them repeatedly.
And you do need to get those quills out, otherwise they will just continue working their way through the skin.
One thing that I make sure, and I start with all my dogs early, is that I can handle their head, their mouth, without any problems of them biting me or anything like that.
Dogs typically don't fare very well when they encounter a herd of javelina. Javelina are really only trying to protect themselves from what they see as a predator.
You can have a whole herd turn on your bird dog, and if you don't have good control and able to turn your bird dog in that situation, the results of that encounter can be fatal.
Hi guys.
It's a good idea to have the number or know the location of a 24-hour veterinary clinic, because they aren't very common, but there are several scattered throughout Arizona. With smaller dogs, you're definitely going to have problems if you walk your dog off of leash. You're always risking an incident with a coyote, even in the center of town.
Generally speaking, if you make enough noise, they'll turn and leave your dog.
In town, some people unfortunately will put out food and things for coyotes, and coyotes are not as leery of humans in town as they are out and about. In those instances, you know, I would pick up rocks, throw rocks, do anything that you can just to distract the coyote and give your pet a little bit of a chance.
Good dog.
Shots are very important. You always want to make sure your dogs are very current on all of their shots, including rabies, when you take them out anywhere.
Hi, how are you?
Out here in Arizona, people are always out and about, and a lot of people hike with their dogs, so you're going to encounter people on the trail with dogs. And if your dogs haven't been socialized and they're not friendly to people or other dogs, it's not going to be enjoyable for you, and it's not going to be enjoyable for the dog. You're going to spend your whole time kind of trying to manhandle the dog.
All right, hunt them up.
Most of the sporting breeds, the hunting dogs, the pointers, spaniels, are very active dogs. So you want to have a large yard if you're going to get a dog like that. You want to be able to spend the time with them. The obedience training is really crucial. Very few dogs that end up in the pounds are usually very highly obedience trained, because a dog that's not well behaved is a dog that people tend to get more irritated with, lose patience with, and might send to the pound.
Load up. I always transport my dogs in a dog carrier. It's safe for them, and that's his security blanket. He'd rather be in his dog kennel if I'm in a hotel or at home or anywhere. I can leave that open and he's there. So that's where he wants to be.
And it's ready for a safe transport home.
In my household, he's another one of the family. And he sleeps in my daughter's room, and to him, that's her best friend. And he's treated as such.
These animals have a desire to please that's just literally unmatched. It's incredible.
I just love my dogs to death. I would do anything for them. They're just wonderful.